astrologically, where does a sense of purpose and direction come from? This is a somewhat complicated answer, but I will give you some resources about individuals that you can contact to help out with this at the end of this video. The sense of purpose and direction in life comes from a few things. The first deals with the idea of confluence within the birth chart itself, meaning how many times do the planets point to and indicate a particular thing. If I'm looking at your chart and every time I look at a planet and the bhava yoga that planet makes, it says to me, oh, they're going to be successful in music. You know, I look at Mercury, Mercury indicates that. I look at the moon indicates that. The 10th lord indicates that. The 3rd lord indicates that. Well, I see 5 or 4 things, 5 or 4 things, 5 or 4, that point to this direction. So I know that you're probably already going to be involved in music or some form of creativity. And you're going to say, well, I already knew that. Why would you tell me that? It's obvious. Those are obvious things. Any basic level astrologer with any sense can point that out to you. That's number one, confluence. Number two, again, we have to look at all the Vargas to see how it lines up. Number three, and probably the most important one, we have these 4 aims of life that are spoken of. Moksha, or liberation of consciousness, freedom. Dharma, a sense of purpose and direction, supporting our society in this evolution of human consciousness and life itself. Kama, the ability to enjoy life, to feel that life is good and life is ever new joy, which can also be spiritual as well as mundane. Artha, which is the idea that you're able to have wealth and resources and manage them well. So these are the 4 general aims. We want to have a little of all of them because you want to be able to do your job. You also want to have a sufficient income. You want to enjoy life. It's refreshing for you. Things can't be hard all the time or it just grinds you out. You also want to have a sense of freedom, of moksha, of liberation, of spiritual release in a way. These are the 4 aims of life. And there are these yogas, which are often referred to as Raj yogas, that a lot of people look to, which they tend to focus on the combination of trinal lords 1, 5, and 9, and angular lords 1, 4, 7, and 10. They tend to look at those as being yogas of greatness. And that makes sense because the trinal lords are a sense of happiness and ease and grace. And the angular lords are how much power do we have? How much can we get done? That's why cruel planets and angular signs are very helpful, because you put a cruel planet in an angular sign, that person was going to get in there and get stuff done. If you're a pushover or you're lazy, you're not going to like it. So of course you're going to think it's cruel. But the cruel planets are there to motivate us, to help us succeed in these endeavors. And you don't necessarily always, there's ways that we need to judge that, have them in trines, because now you've got your areas of grace and fortune making you work really hard, which is kind of contrary to the issues. So this idea of Raj Yoga, it's way beyond simple combinations of trinal lords and angular lords. It would be more appropriate to consider them to be yogas of purpose, or yogas of, what would be a good word? I'll have to think about that a little bit. But there needs to be another name for them, because these yogas include not just the Raj Yoga ideas of trinal lords and angular lords, but they include yogas of enjoyment, yogas of wealth, yogas of purpose, yogas of moksha. And for example, to have real moksha, you don't necessarily simply just have a lot of 4th, 8th, and 12th lord combinations. To have real moksha, that needs to be tied into some dharma planets, trinal planets. Because then your sense of moksha, your sense of liberation, is a sense of duty and evolution of consciousness. Because you can have moksha lords with kama lords. And then how do you experience moksha and liberation? Through probably your senses, through overindulgence, through seeking of pleasure, which can waste a lot of your vital forces. So you see, there's all these combinations that you can have. So if you really want to have a sense of what is your karmic history, habit for direction in life, you look for those planets, those karmas that overlap, that give confluence, number one, within your chart. Number two, you want to see what's stronger within your chart. This is one of the things, one of the tests that I give the astrological apprentices at Asheville Vedic Astrology. Again, this comes the 6th class, the end of year 2 in the astrological apprenticeship study or program. I ask them to look at a chart and see, number in order, which is stronger. The moksha, the dharma, the artha, the kama. Where do they play out? And what this does is it trains them to see, all right, well, this person has more of a moksha influence, more of a kama influence. They're more interested in being a musician who does a lot of drugs and sleeps with a lot of women and doesn't think anything more about it. There are people like that. You can see that in a lot of entertainers. You can look to see, is this person a hard worker? Are they very good at business? We look at artha yogas. And is that artha yoga tied into some sort of dharma principle? Because then their dharma, their work, and their management of resources is then tied to a sense of dharma. Those are the business people you want to be involved with, because they're doing their work not just to make money. They're doing it because it's part of who they are. It's very powerful to them. So to break it down, first we look at the confluence of the chart itself, and then we need to see what is most prominent within your chart in relationship to kama yogas, artha yogas, dharma yogas, and moksha yogas, and the combination of those things. If you can pull all that together, you can get a real direct sense of what is your life going to be like. Now, some people, their chart is scattered, and you've probably had this experience. You've gone to so many astrologers, and you keep trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? And every astrologer gives you something different, and you're 45 and you still have no idea. It's because your chart is scattered, meaning there's not 5 things saying go this direction. There's 5 things all going in 5 different directions, going all over the place. So when that occurs, that shows us that within your karma, that it's great because there's fertile ground there, but you have to tap into your sun, you have to tap into your Saturn, and decide to go in a certain direction, even if it doesn't feel right, even if you're still looking for that thing that makes you imagine everything's going to lock into place. You have to pick something and increase your intensity of your own karma, because karma comes from somewhere. It comes from your activities right now. It's a conglomeration of the things that you're experiencing right now, that you're doing right now, that you're supporting and sustaining right now. So if you're scattered and nothing's working out, it's going to stay that way until you decide to make a commitment to go in one direction. Or we'll just say 2 to keep it easy. 1 or 2 directions, and every day you get up and you work towards that goal. Every day you get up and work towards that goal, you are strengthening the karma in that particular direction, which means in this lifetime, maybe you'll experience it. It's very possible. It's more possible than if you don't try at all. Maybe what you're doing is you're setting up the momentum so that when you pass in this lifetime, when you come back around again, theoretically, you've got so much energy going in that direction that you talk to an astrologer in your next lifetime and they say, oh, you have 8 influences saying you're going to be a pro football player because you worked so hard at it in this life. This is applicable to so many things, even health. Yogananda had once said that even if you're dying, even if you have the most dreaded disease in the world, you have to maintain in your mind a sense that you are well, you are happy, you are healthy, because everybody's body is going to be born and die, so it's going to die anyway. But what happens is if you continue to fixate on, I am unhealthy, oh, I have this problem, I'll never get over it, and you maintain that in this lifetime, then when you die, the next time you've just sustained that karma for that to occur again. But if you are burning off that karma of illness or physical difficulty in this lifetime, and you continue to hold in your mind, I am well, I am clear, I am healthy, again, maybe you'll be more likely to experience some variation of that in this life, but you're certainly going to experience better karma in that direction in your next life because you've already pushed the ball in that direction. Your karma is from where you've pushed the ball. And if you've been scattered, you're going to stay scattered until you push the ball in a certain direction. But generally, we look at these kinds of things, such as the confluence, as well as those particular yogas, and you need to calculate them mathematically. There's a particular formula you use for yoga judgment. So people you can contact that are able to help you with this. Corey Dowds of eyeoftheveda.com. He understands this process. These are just a few. The list is not exhaustive. Karen White of Divine Time Astrology. Michael Reed, I believe it's just Michael Reed Astrology. I don't remember what his is. Channing Ayers, and she's through Asheville Vedic Astrology. So Channing, Channing, at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com. You can reach her there. Also, probably in a year or so, I'm going to start promoting many of the students who've survived the first 3 years of the Astrological apprenticeship program. They are well grounded in this. They spend a lot of time on this. They understand this principle. So you can discuss this with them too, and I'll put a link at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com for those students who have completed this level of work you can reach out to. But this is how you want to look at it. This is where you're going to find better information in the long term about your sense of purpose and direction astrologically. And if you can find astrologers who understand this, that will also help. Please go look back at the previous few videos I've posted on the Vargas and the divisional charts, because we speak to how the Vargas play into this as well.